Okay, it's me again. Welcome back. Same outfit as the last few videos. Why? So we're just blasting a few out on a Sunday. Let's go. Okay, we've done a couple gravel bikes, couple new mountain bikes, and we have more mountain bikes coming in. This is a weird season to be doing it. Normally all these bike releases are coming in the springtime, right when you're getting ready with the supply chain. Everything's coming now. You got to pre-order what you want for spring, and we got a trickling of small amount now. So if you want a new mountain bike, go in, talk to someone, or look online, do your research, watch my videos, and you may find something you want to order. Today though, we got something pretty good, and I think a lot of people will like it. It is Santa Cruz's best-selling bike, and I think it's going to continue. And we're going to flip it around. We have the all-new 5010. So this bike has been Santa Cruz's kind of best-selling bike for a long time. Danny McAskill is sponsored by them and rides this exact bike. Well, not this exact bike. Obviously, he has one with just a ridiculous part spec to it. Custom Magura brakes, whatever. He is on this frame, and this is the way it's going to go. So let's start with the big things on the Santa Cruz 5010 and what has changed. First things first, we'll measure. Yep, mullet. They have gone to a 27.5 Maxxis Minion on the back. Now this one is going to perform well. It is the DHR, so it is the rear specific, and it is 27.5 by 2.4. And on the front, they went with the big old 29. So this is the big change from last year. Last year it was two 27.5s, or it's not even last year, it's the same year. Santa Cruz doesn't do model years. They do, I don't know, versions. So this is the V5. The V5 has a 29 by 2.4 on the front DHR, which is interesting, right? That is the rear specific one, but that means you're going to get a lot more traction and control through it. It'll roll a little faster in the corners, but this is such a lightweight, playful bike, I don't think anyone would notice or miss the DHF, which is the front-specific version. So the new 5010 colorway looks really good. It's this gold and kind of cherry tomato look to it. I think they just call it gloss red, which is a boring name to call it when it looks so cherry tomato, but you know, I don't name the colors. Part spec wise, this is the S-Kit version, so you have that GX drivetrain. That is the big thing between the multiple models. It obviously looks good. You have a full GX crank. This is the proper Descendant-like style Eagle crank set to it. They put on a pretty big 32 ring setup, so this is designed for a little faster acceleration and overall a lot of efficiency in the acceleration speed and less about the fastest top speed. The 5010 always has been their most playful bike, and adding that 29 now adds a lot of control. You'll roll over things a little bit better, and overall you will just perform better with a 29. There's no real downside to having a 27.5 on the back, and there's no real downside to having a 29 on the front. And you combine the two like they did with the Bronson, and overall you get just a wonderful feeling bike. A couple of changes to the frame as well. They did add the storage compartment to it, which they're doing with all of them. This is a magnetized one, unlike the Trek models. So you have a small little clasp, and then overall 2 bags in this one. So you get one in the top and one in the bottom. You can really take advantage as the suspension doesn't really interfere all the way from kind of the lowest point all the way up to the top. Magnets on nicely. It does feel strong enough that if you left it open, I would be surprised if it fell off. Obviously with a full water bottle, that's a whole nother story. Suspension wise, we have the Super Deluxe Select Plus from RockShox. This one is going to honestly outperform most people. It works well. It does have the classic lock and unlock. Nobody touches that. They work so efficient nowadays. It works well. With the VPP suspension they brought into V4, I think it was, you get an overall super smooth impact resistant shock. So it always rocks in the most efficient way for the suspension. And then on top of that, it allows sharp edges to take that impact and throw it away instead of taking it and having to ricochet it down. So it becomes a very comfy, cushy feeling bike, even set up under the right circumstances. With your weight and riding style, This feels like it's softer, but actually performs just as well. Up at the front, you get a nice pike. So this one is fantastic. If you've not had the pike before, I've had one on one of my remedies. This is the Select Plus. You end up with a really big, beefy fork. It is honestly, it was one of the better feeling forks I've ever had. Lots of customization to it, and that might be one of the reasons. You can do high speed and low speed compressions on the top, rebound on the bottom. Everything about it works super, super well. Set it up, dab on air. You can get a lot out of this fork with very little input, which is really nice. Cable routing by Santa Cruz obviously is super nice. They've always done it super nice. They have the cables coming right in to holes right there, and it runs down actual carbon shells, so there's no rattling within the frame, and comes out in very specific areas, cuts back in. Everything looks super clean all the way to the exit at the back, so it's not hidden underneath the chainstay protector or anything. It looks really, really good. They did, interestingly enough, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, kept the 31.6 seat post. I don't really have much to say about that. I don't really care in a way, but it is interesting. Many bikes are going to that 34, so it's kind of just interesting that they didn't switch this one too. The people looking at the Santa Cruz 5010 is someone who is not racing. You're not racing down, you're not racing up, you're just having fun. If you saw Rat Boy Bryce, he used to be sponsored by them and used to rip this thing. I mean, he could ride the mountain bike super fast downhill, but he'd also hit every, like a hip and jump and rock, and it was just an easy handling bike. And that's what this is still designed for. Even though they've got that 29 on the front, they're still designing it to be an easy to handle throw around bike, essentially a dirt jumper, full suspension, mountain bike, BMX setup. I mean, you can do kind of anything with this. It's going to feel great. It's going to handle great. And overall, it's not going to win a race. That's really the only thing. It's meant as a skills perk, fun, easy handling bike. If you maybe aren't as confident with throwing around these bigger bikes, especially getting longer, 229 inches wheels, it's actually a lot of work to throw them around. Something like this, super easy. And for the average trail rider and the average trail rides, I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to complain about this being slow. You know, when you compare it to racers, sure, maybe they want something a little faster, but check out Danny Macaskill's Instagram if you're unsure of the control and handleability of this. You can do pretty much anything you want with a bike like this. Classic Bergtech front stem and handlebars, bit of a high rise to it. Honestly, this is like set up like an FMX bike, a BMX bike, a dirt jump bike, but with that long geometry of a mountain bike, the 29-inch wheel of a modern geometry bike, 27.5 of that easy handling throw around. It's going to be fantastic. The brakes obviously are a G2 R series, so 4-piston, you get tons of stopping power, front and rear. It's going to work really, really, really well. If you want a now faster rolling bike, this is going to be it. Rolling over things is going to be really nice and easy. Unlike previous model years where every rock and stump you'd have to go over, you'd have to force the front end up a little bit more and throw it around a little bit more. With that 29-inch wheel, you're actually going to just fly over things, so your speed is going to keep up more naturally while having that crazy tight back end, and it's going to work really well. Yeah, the 5010 I think will continue to be a really good seller for them. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I just think for the everyday rider, this is a bike you can go on, have fun, and really, really get a really good ride out of it. Really, I really mean that. One more really, just for sakes. All right, guys, hopefully this gave you a little peek at this. It looks fantastic. The colorway on their website, I don't think ever shows justice to how this bike actually looks. I don't think any of their bikes ever look the same in person as they do online. They need to tone down the lights. Battery died. Yeah, I think this color looks fantastic. I can't wait to see the other one and all the new ones coming. The yeah, they just look a little better in person than I think they do in on the online store there. All right, guys. Hopefully this helped you out, and we'll see you in the next video. We got a lot more coming.